This course is going to be focused around Bootstrap 4, and I want to just briefly show you and run through some of the really cool things that Bootstrap 4 has to offer. So although it looks very similar to Bootstrap 3, and ultimately the difference between 3 and 4 is not as big as the difference between 2 and 3 was, so there are some notable differences within Bootstrap 4, and we're going to be covering these throughout the course. So these are just some of the examples of what you can do with Bootstrap 4. So of course we've got the starter template, we've got the grid layout, and this is just the regular default grid. And we notice here that with the grid there's been an addition of additional tier in the sizing. So we've got that XL tier that wasn't there before, and this is to accommodate those larger size screens. So now that we've got the 4K TVs and even larger and larger screens all the time, so Bootstrap has adapted to that as well. So more compatible with larger screen devices is one of the most notable things with Bootstrap. We've got still the Jumbotron, so this is really cool because Jumbotrons are, again, really useful ways to present content and to really highlight that interesting content within your website. We also have the ability to do a narrow Jumbotron. Then we've got some columns here, so the grid system. We also have an example of the navigation bar. So navigation bar is really big in Bootstrap, and as we can see, we still have that resizing and that ability to make it mobile friendly. We can also do fixed bars now, so it's a little bit easier now to do those fixed bars at the top and the bottom. So we see that the bar there is fixed. We've got an example of an album here, so we see that the stacking, and it's really nicely neatly presented. So another really cool thing about Bootstrap is the way that it presents things. We can also do, we've got an example here of a cover on a page. So if you've got those one-page websites which are ever becoming more and more popular, that's a really good example of what can be done in Bootstrap. Here we've got an example of the carousel. So this is one of my favorites within Bootstrap, and I'm really glad that they've kept this in, that we do have this example of that carousel. And this is built-in jQuery, so really easy to add in these types of carousels into your web pages. Also, here's an example of Bootstrap blog. So these are some default templates that we can utilize. We've got these dashboard navigations. We've got sign on here. We also have just a justified nav, so everything's stacked there, which doesn't really neatly present in this example, but of course there are different ways to lay that out. We also have the sticky footer, so this is a footer that's always going to stay at the bottom, so as opposed to maybe something at the top, you might want to have it always at the bottom even when you're scrolling. Now this one doesn't have a lot of content here, but we can keep it sticky at there. We've got the ability to do a sticky footer and fixed navigation bar, so maybe this is a little bit of a better example. So whenever we lose some of that real estate on the page, I gotta get it to scroll there, but we see that the footer always stays at the bottom, and then the nav bar there gets fixed at the top. We also have off canvas here example, and then of course we've got the layout and the grid system code. Another really big change when it comes to Bootstrap 4 is that wells and thumbnails, they've been replaced with the card system, and we're going to be going over that in detail. We also lost the glyph cons, and really Font Awesome has a really good prepackaged icon library, and there's quite a lot of them out there. So that's probably one of the reasons why Bootstrap had dropped it, because there's really a lot of options out there. We also have Flexbot support for the newer browsers. It's also really easy to create themes. We have some more options for our navigation bars. So before we could do the two colors, so we had that inverted color. So we have some more options with coloring them and a whole lot more. So I'm going to be going over all this really cool stuff when it comes to Bootstrap within this course. So when you're ready, let's begin making some websites with Bootstrap.